Good evening and welcome to Hungary Report, starting off public media and one's foreign language news hour. I'm Csenga Gabriela Iboya with today's news from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin. Let's begin. The head of the permanent representation in Brussels, Oliver Várhelyi, was proposed by the Prime Minister as EU Commissioner designate. Viktor Orbán announced this after László Trócsányi was voted down for a second time by a committee of the European Parliament, most likely headed by Liberal votes. According to news from Brussels, the new candidate will have his hearing in the middle of October.
It was requested that I should appoint another commissioner instead of Minister Trócsányi. Ursula von der Leyen spoke on the telephone with Viktor Orbán, and she asked him to suggest a new candidate for the European Commission instead of László Trócsányi. I already appointed the ambassador Oliver Várhelyi as the official commissioner candidate of Hungary. Oliver Várhelyi is a diplomat of the European Union. He is Hungary's lead representative in Brussels. I told Madame President that under these circumstances, I can only suggest a technocrat, an expert who, in the topic at hand, namely that of the functioning of the European Union, is a well-known specialist. He has worked at the Commission and he has a kind of routine in these affairs, and is not a political delegate, Viktor Orbán said.
There's László Trócsányi.
Ursula von der Leyen appointed László Trócsányi as commissioner 3 weeks ago. The legal committee, however, found a conflict of interest as his name is tied to a law firm. László Trócsányi was voted down on Monday. Presumably, the left-leaning members of the commission contributed to this decision. According to the foreign policy analyst speaking to N1 News, László Trócsányi was outvoted because of issues that otherwise meet the rule of law in Hungary. Currently, there's a campaign against anti-migration forces. We see this on the national platform as well, in various places, but we at least see this on two fronts. One of these is re-raising the mandatory quota issue. The other is the introduction of rule of law issues into the EU budget debate. And the stage for this is, in fact, the attack on the Hungarian commissioner designate, József Dávid Szabó said. The new candidate, Oliver Várhelyi, will be heard in Brussels in mid-October. Oliver Várhelyi is held to be a professional diplomat by analysts, and they agree in that he has great experience with respect to affairs of the European Union.
It is in the interest of both Hungary and Finland that the new leaders of EU institutions lead a more successful operation than their predecessors, said Viktor Orbán after receiving his Finnish counterpart, whose country is currently in line to be the president of the Council of the European Union. Antti Rinne thinks that when it comes to handing out EU funds, the rule of law of countries should be taken into consideration.
Following a one-on-one and a plenary meeting, the two prime ministers arrived at the panorama room of the Carmelite monastery. The joint objective is to build a better Europe. Among other topics, they discussed this issue with the Finnish prime minister. Today, I emphasized to Prime Minister Orbán that the budget of the European Union, as well as the protection of the good use of these funds, a balanced and clear legal tool must be established, which will link reception of EU funds to the rule of law in the country, the Finnish Prime Minister said. In reference to questions concerning the rule of law, the Hungarian Prime Minister said, Hungarians were not as lucky as the Finnish people, as Hungary was occupied following World War II. There was a dictatorship for more than 40 years. When we are questioned or when they undermine or doubt the Hungarian rule of law, then they step into the bounds of our honor. I suggest that they truly meditate on this, as international relationships are not built on one country insulting the other. International relationships are built on pillars of mutual respect. And without facts or evidence, we should not blame one another, Viktor Orbán said. The Prime Minister added, it is a difficult matter to compare accomplishments of rule of law, as there is, for example, a type of legal institution which exists in Hungary, which serves as the basis of the rule of law, which does not exist in Finland. In terms of questions concerning Europe, Viktor Orbán highlighted that the currently operating European institutions should strive in a much stronger manner to focus on subjects where a mutual understanding exists, as opposed to issues where dissenting opinions endure. They expect that the new institutional directors will lead a more successful 5 years than the years behind us.
And the influx of investments continue here in Hungary. 3 new developments were inaugurated. The aim, just like before, continues to be the modernization of machinery, equipment and technology. Analysts think that these new developments will create new jobs as well as contributing to lasting and solid economic growth.
From now on, Friesland Campina's factory in Mátészalka will be able to produce as much as 1 million túrórudis, a Hungarian favorite, with their brand new production lines. With this, the Dutch company has begun a 5-year investment cycle. The Minister of Agriculture said, with this, the sector also continues to grow. This means work for 5, 10, or even 100 families who can begin to work again, who have the opportunity to develop, István Nagy said. The completely Hungarian-owned Renaissance Ltd., who happens to be celebrating their 70th birthday this year, has built a new production hall and modernized their machines and equipment from 5.6 million euros. We've inaugurated a production hall, which clearly shows that this company is doing well, Gergely Gulyás said. While in Miskolc, GS Wasa's new production hall was also inaugurated, where the Japanese high-tech company produces batteries for electric cars. There is huge competition between countries for large-scale high-tech developments, such as GS Wasa's investment, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade said. We need to have arguments when it comes to this big international competition. For example, the lowest taxes in Europe are here in Hungary, or the fact that we are constantly upgrading our infrastructure, or the fact that we are constantly expanding our vocational training, for which Miskolc is a great example, Péter Szijjártó said. Renowned for its innovative technology, GS Wasa announced in 2018 that it will build its first European plant in Miskolc's Southern Industrial Park from nearly 26.8 million euros. For this, the government contributed more than 1.3 million euros in non-repayable support.
By the end of October, the Millennium House in Városliget City Park will open its doors to the public. The 130-year-old building has been carefully renovated to its original design. Formerly known as the Olof Palme House, visitors will learn about the history of the city park inside the building. There will also be a gorgeous turn-of-the-century garden before the main entrance.
The finishing touches are in the process of completion at the new Rose Garden of the Városliget in Budapest. Flower beds and benches await those who wish to rest in the green areas in front of the Millennium House. The former Olof Palme House was renovated according to the original plans, fashioned by the 19th century architect Ferenc Pfaff. An interactive exhibition that showcases the history of the Városliget, or City Park, is on display in the newly renovated building. Visitors can, for example, sit in the seats of the first car of the underground subway. In fact, they can also view what the Városliget will look like in 2023. Additionally, a cafe decorated with Zsolnay ceramics awaits visitors at the Millennium House. Restoration of the site is part of the Liget Budapest project, under which the Museum of Fine Arts was recently restored. The programs of the Városliget not only boast of cultural expansions, but also of novel sports fields and a dog park. The ministerial commissioner responsible for the project emphasized that currently this is one of the largest cultural expansions of Europe. We can calmly say that the Liget Budapest project in Europe, and in fact the entire Western world, is the largest cultural development at the moment. Even in Hungary, we must look back a century to the time of the new millennium in order to find a similar cultural expansion project in Budapest, László Bán said. László Bán also said that the renovation of the building, as well as the development of the Rose Garden, will cost approximately 12 million euros.
This year, the Bakony House was selected as the Country House of the Year. Located in the heart of Veszprém, the Porch Farmhouse has one of the oldest open-air ethnographic exhibitions in Hungary. It was built in 1935 on the model of a small noble house in Bakony. Walking through the building, we learn how a family from a Bakony village lived in the early 1900s. an Avar warrior comes to life at the new exhibition in the Déri Museum in Debrecen. The tomb of the armored cavalry was discovered in 2017 near Derecske and was named Kerény by archaeologists. Based on his skull, they created a life-size figure of the 7th century warrior using state-of-the-art techniques and face reconstruction. The exhibition is open and awaiting visitors until the end of the year. And that's all for now, but don't forget you can catch Hungary Reports every night after 11 p.m. news and online as always. Do stick around and watch our German, Russian and Chinese language news. Thank you for watching and have a lovely evening.